Hello, Fearless Gamers, and welcome to another podcast here on Fearless Games. I'm Matt the Vet, and today I am joined by...
Dan's a wildcard.
And how are you doing this fine after-holiday season finale extravaganza?
Not bad. How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. Some silly thing happened here on the Fearless Games YouTube channel. It was the Christmas season, and all through the house, I produced a podcast that was quieter than even a mouse. So I produced the podcast of number 88, and I was like, okay, I gotta get this done. I get it done. Then I put it on my external. I go, let's go, and I go to the girlfriend's house to do my Christmas stinging, and we then go and put the external on her computer to post the podcast, and I discovered it was podcast 87 that I put in my external and not podcast 88.
Whoopsie daisies.
Yes. I was like, this sounds too familiar. Oh, it's last week's podcast.
Oops.
And it was, so now it's going to be weird because it says, like, Merry Christmas, and everyone's going to be like, it's not Christmas anymore.
Yeah, well, oops.
So, speaking of, how was your holiday?
Not bad. I didn't get any stuff that was, wargaming or nerd specific.
That it was a terrible Christmas.
So it was good, but I did make a Steam purchase.
Oh.
For it. I got spin tires. And
do you spin tires?
Actually, yes. But,
is that all you do, is just spin a tire?
Well, not really, but technically, yes. It's weird. The game has a series of maps that you can play single player or multiplayer. And when you understand what the game really is, it's cool. But if you buy it expecting more, people are severely disappointed. All right? The whole point of the game is to pick up wood and deliver it.
Uh-huh.
Off-road using old Russian vehicles because you're in Russia somewhere. But then there's what they call cloak points, which basically just obscure the map. So you have a map and a compass, and when you go to a cloak point, you reveal the area around it, so you can use the map to navigate better. It's all in like the backwoods and off-roading. And the game is really, in my opinion, it's fun. It's more of a, showing off technology than being a game, in my opinion, because it's got a great physics engine. It's got, it looks great. Like, you know how if you're playing a game that has a vehicle in it, the tire just looks like it has texture, but it looks like it's painted on instead of being 3D. The tires actually are 3D, which is cool.
Do they spin?
They do. In fact, to spin your tires, and sometimes when you're stuck, all you do is spin tires and you don't go anywhere. So the game is very aptly named, but it's all it is. There's no people. You can discover areas and you can discover the vehicles that are laying throughout the map, and then you can use them. But it's not like you get out and walk to it. You just click change vehicle. You click on the vehicle and you're magically in it. It's just vehicles and the nature. But the physics is really cool. Like, when you go into mud and get bogged down, you actually churn up mud. It's not just, I'm stuck. It actually makes the ground look different. It's like with deep tire treads. Your vehicle gets muddy. You get clumps of mud on it that once you get unstuck and move around, it actually kick off, if you ever rode a bike through mud, how the mud flakes off of your tire. That happens. The tires are aired down, so you have to feel them compress. If you go on a bridge with a heavy vehicle, like a land bridge and stuff like that, it'll actually kind of sink a bit, and you got to carefully navigate it. When you go through water, you can get flooded. The river's pretty cool. And when you go through standing water, it actually changes the elevation of the water and actually makes it bubble up and rise when your tires spin in it and stuff. So when the vehicles get wet, the paint looks like it's wet. If there's any type of cloth, like a cloth top, it looks wet. The wooden planks in some of the truck beds, when they get wet, they look like wet wood. So it's very cool that way. And when you understand it's all about just navigating off-road, and it has the ability to do off-road things, like go into 4-wheel drive mode, or they call it all-wheel drive mode because some vehicles are 6-wheel and 8-wheel. But and then you can lock the differentials, which is something that you can do in real world. So it's pretty cool that way. And it got a winch that can winch yourself out when you in certain situations if there's stuff nearby to winch. So people who understand it going in, it's a fun game, and it actually does a pretty good job. Unfortunately, I think Uvi or Uvo, whatever made it.
Ubisoft?
No, not Ubisoft. It's like OOVOO or OOVEE. I don't actually know who it is. It looks like, are just going to take the money and run, like Uvi. It looks like this, some people are claiming that the money, like, they're not going to support the game, so it just is it.
Uh-huh.
That's it. But I'm not looking for like a crazy in-depth plot. It's just you deliver some wood. That's really it. And other people going, "What's the point of this game?" And it's like, you didn't even bother reading the description, did you?
No one reads the description, not even the people who wrote it.
Yeah, but so it's actually fun. I put like several hours in the game already, and I just got it the other day. But it's just you wouldn't expect it to be fun, and you wouldn't expect it, just looking at the idea, and it sounds really lame. Like, you literally don't have to do any of the exploration. You can just literally go to where the lumber is on the map, load up the truck, and then go to where you have to deliver it, and that's it. But it's kind of fun. So that's Spin Tires.
So, have you been playing the Weird Al song, driving a truck driver song while you play?
I have not, but I have seen Weird Al's Radio Shack commercial.
I've seen those, and he's going to be in a new TV show called Gallivant.
I'm just confused on a couple of things with the Radio Shack. I'm like, Radio Shack reinvented themselves a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
That was a funny commercial in the 80s called They Want Their Store Back. That was funny. But what would make them want to use Weird Al?
Because he's pretty popular.
He's cool, but like, when I think, his song is funny in there and everything, but it's just like, I got an idea. Let's use Weird Al to promote our technology store. What? He's cool. Yeah, he's cool, but what? It's just like, that'd be like going, like, I don't know. It was just random out of. When I saw him, I'm like, that's Weird Al.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm cool with it. It was just random.
I see. So according to this, you've played 3.6 hours.
Yeah.
Impressive, Snake. So I actually got some pretty interesting things that are things and not stuffs.
Okay.
I got the our lovely camera lady. She got me the brush sets from GW.
Fancy.
Yeah, it was really awesome. So now I have like all the brushes, and they look all nice, and they can paint stuff.
And they're new. See, I have to, I'm using GW brushes because that's what I got, and I'm actually getting to the point where I'm actually starting to wear out the brush from just use. Normally, the other brushes I've had, because they were cheap brushes, not that I didn't care too much, but something would happen where they'd get catastrophically destroyed by glue or something. Something would happen, and then I would fix them, but they'd be relegated for dry brushing and doing stuff where it doesn't matter. So I'm actually wearing out a brush. I'm like, this is the weirdest experience ever. I don't know whether to be proud or sad.
I also got what's really cool, Zone Mortalis doors. I got a pack of small doors and a large door. Cool. And then I went out and I bought a bunch of stuff.
Fancy.
I bought me Osmodai.
Okay.
And all of the paints I need to paint Fulgrim in Forge World's Emperor's Children's colors.
Cool.
And I special ordered Azrael and Ezekiel.
Gotcha.
Yep. So it's some good stuff. So I'm excited.
That's cool. That's cool. I've been looking at and thinking of like different like tabletop RPG stuff because like we have Dark Heresy, Rogue Trader, and Deathwatch for 40K, and they're fun because you get to actually make a character in the universe and do stuff with them. And I was doing that, and I came across my stuff for BattleTech, because BattleTech has an RPG game as well. And I was reading it, and looking at its sheets and stuff, and correlating it to the miniature game. And the miniature game, because the RPG game is meant to represent more than just mech combat. It's meant to represent stuff. In fact, not that you couldn't do a mech warrior in the RPG and actually pilot a mech, you can. There's rules for that. But it's really meant to be like, you're like a dude running around trying not to die, basically. But if you wanted, let's say you had 4 people or 5 people, you could take the miniature game rules and use it virtually seamlessly with the RPG game to actually represent mech combat. Like, you'd actually have your guys and their skills and stuff for RPGing, and then when they actually jump into the mechs to do combat, because a lot of people like to make mech warriors in the RPG games, let's say you have a full squad of it, then you can bust out the miniature that they have for their mech, if they had one, and you can actually play utilizing the miniature game rules for mechs, where their piloting skill and gunnery skill would affect the actual mech, and you can do stuff that way with maybe some RPG elements thrown in, like whatever. And it was really what I found that I thought was pretty cool about that, and like it's kind of like almost the ultimate in being in the game, because having RPGs, I mean, I love Deathwatch, but let's be real, Deathwatch Marines,
are not like the 40k Marines.
No. If they were, the 40k Marines would be broken. But
yeah, that's like the thing. Like, everyone has to like remember when they play like the regular 40k game, to get that level of accuracy, no one would play anyone that's a Space Marine.
Not even that, just also the sheer like actual protective value of the power armor. There'd be no reason to play anything but Space Marines.
Yeah, it's just like this thing. If you're like, oh, I'm playing Eldar, it's like, oh, you're playing Space Marines? Well, then I'm not playing you.
Right. I mean, now, if there was an actual, which I would actually like to see, full-on RPG rules for, like, Tau and Eldar.
Which would be awesome.
It would be interesting, but still, it's like, okay, you basically be playing some form of Space Marine, be it Chaos or Normal, some form of Eldar or a Tau army. Like, if they were to represent, like, everything else would be kind of superfluous, because if you're going to actually represent Tyranids, you wouldn't be able to control them, Yeah. And Orcs, you don't have enough numbers.
Yeah.
You need way more numbers, and it would be even more economically unfeasible to play them. Because you would need, like, quadruple the guys you have. And Imperial Guard, there would be no point. It's like, because they die immediately. Like, it would be no point unless you were nothing but tank company. It would really make the game, and, it really wouldn't be worth playing. It couldn't work. So, Deathwatch is fantastic because you actually get to see a Space Marine be awesome, like a Space Marine should.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, but it doesn't work that well in correlation to a miniature game. But what I found pretty cool about the Battletech miniature game is that you can integrate seamlessly, because the mech is a mech. It's not anything, like, if you're piloting an awesome in the miniature game versus piloting an awesome in an RPG game versus piloting an awesome in the video game, it's still an awesome. The difference is the pilot. In an RPG, you have more. Your pilot's going to obviously have more stuff, and then you have the RPG element. So I just liked how you could. It's a case where you could basically integrate the miniature game right into the RPG, no problem. If you try doing that in 40K, oh god, the balancing issues. Just to play. You'd be like, here's my Marine. He's going to kill your entire army with his bolt gun.
Yep.
So. That was pretty cool. You know what makes me kind of not sad, but because I really enjoy Middle Earth, the setting, like the factions, how things are done. To me, there's virtually almost nothing cooler than a wizard from Middle Earth, like the ultimate mage for me. Even though we barely see them do anything ever. But I wish I could get into the Hobbit or the Lord of the Ring war game. I really do, but I can't.
The Smog model looks so cool.
The Smog model looks cool, and just like the Lord of the Ring elves are like my favorite type of elf, period. Like, but the humans are humans. I mean, they're cool, but it's not like the humans are any different because it's a human. You can't make the human be different than a real human that much. But the game. Nope. The game just doesn't feel like I have no interest. I don't know why. It just doesn't interest me.
It's one of those interesting games where I'd be cool to like play a game just to see what it's all about.
Yeah.
But the only reason I would collect it is if I actually worked for GW. It's like one of those games where like at that like I'd have to be obligated to play the game.
I would love to play a demo game, and I'd love to have like a ring race army, something like that, or like a force that would be predominantly ring race stuff. But it's just like I have no will to try.
Yep.
I don't know why, because it's not like I don't like that setting. I love that setting. It's like one of my top fantasy settings. It's like up there. It's got my favorite version of an elf in there, period. But it's really up there. And I'd be more inclined to try Warhammer Fantasy, which I also have zero interest, just because the whole moving block of legions doesn't interest me.
That doesn't bother me. What I hate about fantasy is the percentage system.
Oh yeah, I hate.
When I'm sitting there, go wait. You mean to tell me I have to figure out what 60% of my army is before I can field stuff? No, just tell me if I could have 1, 2, or 3 of it.
True. I mean, the thing it's just the whole. I assume they still wheel to move and kern and stuff with the blocks. It's just the Tomb Kings aren't as appealing to me anymore because the way they do magic now is just like everybody else. And it was something cool, and it was part of their fluff, and it felt cool. And now they're still cool, but nah. But the only other army I would try would be the Wood Elves, and I might as well play 40k because that's what the Wood Elves play like.
Yeah.
So it's just like, well, there you go.
Speaking of that, there is a rumor going around the mill that I was curious to get your thoughts on. There's 2 supposed codexes that are becoming, 3 things supposedly coming out next that we could foresee in 2015. The first is a new campaign called Dark Storm that will feature the Dark Angels.
Okay.
The next thing is a Deathwatch Codex Supplement. Okay. And the third is a Harlequin Codex Supplement.
Okay.
So, I was curious, your thoughts?
Well, the campaign stuff's cool, but at the same token, I think Forge World does a better campaign system. Here's why. The Imperial Armor books are, it's not, for example, the Deathcore Krieg was an army list in one of those books. If you, I don't know, they also did their book kind of like the historical war books, documentary books. So it just feels, you just really like getting it and reading it, and it includes stuff, even if it's just not a special character, but it's just a regular chaplain that's equipped a certain way. It just feels like you're getting more and learning more about the backstory and stuff. Like, they include new art and new things, and they break it down. Imperial Armor Badav War Part 1 and 2.
Oh, so good.
They're really good. They include alternate army lists for the Tyrant and for other stuff. The problem with GW's campaign books is not that they're bad, it's that they really can't spice it up like that. Because it's,
They seem to, because I have the White Dwarf for the Cities of Death objective cards, because I wanted the City of Death objective cards.
Cool.
And it throws in 2 missions for Cities of Death, and then it goes, check out the Shield of Baal expansion to get 6 Cities of Death missions. And I looked at them, I'm like, so you took Maelstrom missions and just threw in an extra special rule.
Yeah, like Cities of Death, when GW actually had the Cities of Death book, it was like a little codex. It was just called Cities of Death. That was cool. It had missions, it had stratagems, but not that we watered it down. We have that so diverse now that you can do Cities of Death without needing a Cities of Death campaign book. You can just do it yourself. You don't really need it. And their campaign book, Shield of Baal, stuff like that, it's cool. And it's cool, and I like on one hand that it's not a necessity to own it, to do stuff, but on the other hand, there's really no incentive to purchase it.
Yeah.
Unless you're a fan.
Yeah, unless you're a fan of, the story and such, there's really nothing in it.
And I like a story, but Shield of Baal, I have no dog in that fight because I'm not a Blood Angel guy,
Yeah. You're not a Blood Angel,
guy,
you're not Sisters, and you're not Nids.
Yeah, if I was one of those, sure, would like to pick it up, just for the fact that, it's part of my army. But, I don't know, they're cool. It would be cool to see another campaign book. I like that GW's doing this because it's not just, we're going to sit on this until next edition, stuff, and that's cool. It's just that if they could take and I haven't read Shield of Baal, so I can't say, but if they could do it more in the style of the Imperial Armor books, I think it'll be that much better.
From what I've heard, the Shield of Baal is big on one thing that I've heard with Shield of Baal is that it's big on throwing in extra new like army organization charts and such. Like I believe there's one in there focused around Dante to make the Sanguinary an army because it's HQ. I believe it requires Dante, and you need one HQ, one elite choice, and then you can have 6 more elite choices if you want. So it's like a force organization chart built around the different play styles of the Blood Angels, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
But I sat there and I was just like I looked at it, I was like, oh, this is really cool. But like you said, I have no army invested in this. Like, out of the 4 of us, only 2 of us had anything to gain from this campaign book.
Right, and that's the thing why I find Imperial Armor really good, because I own Imperial Armor from 4, but it's a campaign book essentially, and it has stuff for those armies, but it's a book that is written in a way where you forget it's just a campaign book because of all this. It's written like a documentary historical textbook.
Another thing also I find with Imperial Armor campaign books is like you can read it and you don't feel like, well, if I'm not playing the army that was in this book, this campaign is useless to me.
Right. That's a nice thing. And I like GW's throwing out other force organization things. That's fine. That's kind of like how Imperial Armor has these custom army builds. Yeah. But but what I found with GW's books pre Shield of Baal and stuff like that is that it's weird because the Imperial Armor books read like an historical war documentary textbook, but in a fun way where you want to read it. And GW's campaign stuff reads like a textbook where like, I don't want to read this. You know?
Yeah. GW stuff very much tends to be just like, here's the rules, go play.
Yeah.
And Imperial Armor's like, here's the rules, but here's a cool story as to why these rules exist.
Exactly. It makes you read it without your intention isn't maybe necessarily even play the campaign, but now you learn everything about it and you could if you want to. That's the Imperial Armor book. And thanks to Imperial Armor 11, I now learned about the Mimerium craft world. Exactly. And I own that one, and it's with the werewolf dumbness, but
we won't get into Red Maw.
But I own it, and I enjoyed reading it, even though I had nothing invested in it. Like, that's the thing. Yeah. It's especially with GW. The thing that GW does nice is they give you these settings. Shield of Baal, huge thing for fluff, right? So stuff like that, if they can write it more like how Imperial Armor writes it, I'll be even more excited to see more of these things come out. So that would be cool because really there's no... Imperial Armor is great, but GW stuff coming out, that is the canon here and now, what's happening in the history of 40K. So why not have some cool fluff about it? Now,
Imperial Armor tends to be like days of past.
Yeah. But, now, a Deathwatch supplemental book would be awesome if we didn't have Sterngard. I love Deathwatch. I love Deathwatch. Deathwatch had a PDF in 4th edition to run them. And the coolest thing about that was you had a sergeant which would be upgraded to a librarian. And other than that, it's basically the Sterngard squad we have now.
Yeah.
I mean, they had special issue ammunition. Now we have Sterngard as a squad. So people are running Deathwatch in their army, but it's just a Sterngard squad, which is cool, because you get to make a cool-looking Deathwatch squad with different chapter symbols, and like, oh, look at this fun stuff.
Yeah.
But it's Sterngard, and it plays just fine. Now, I don't know what they could try and introduce to a supplement book for Deathwatch past that, unless it's like, because there's really nothing else you could do except maybe give them preferred enemy alien.
The only other thing you could probably do is kind of like, in a way, kind of mix and match and represent the chapters a little bit more within a Deathwatch company. Sort of like how in the Deathwatch RPG game is done, where, if you're a Blood Angel, you have this special rule. If you're a Black Templar, you have this special rule type of thing, and then all the special rules kind of like mix and gel together. To kind of represent, this guy is this dude is that dude, and this dude is this guy.
Yeah, but I mean, that could really bog down a squad. But it's a cool concept. Something like that would be cool. But really, I mean, what are they going to introduce a Deathwatch Dreadnought? It would just be a Dreadnought with preferred enemy Xenos. I mean, it wouldn't... I mean,
Yeah.
giving preferred enemy stuff, I mean, or like special issue war gear specific to an alien would be cool, but it's not like you get to pick and choose your war gear before each game, you know? Is your army list. So, it'll be... I'm not opposed to a Deathwatch supplement. I just feel, A, this supplement has to then be universal to work with everything, like every Space Marine Codex, with the exception of Space Wolves, let's just say, because Space Wolves don't play nice with the Inquisition. So, yeah, it would have to be a supplement that would work in a Dark Angels, Blood Angels, or Space Marine Codex. Because if you just leave it for one codex, you're leaving out, I mean, Blood Angels.
All of your armies.
Yeah, even Space Wolves who don't work well with them send things to Deathwatch. So...
Yep. Yes, it's always been shown, like, there are a bunch of codexes out there that do not hang out with the Inquisition well, but still play ball when they have to.
Exactly. So, I mean, the Dark Angels have people in the Inquisition, Blood Angels have stuff in the Inquisition Deathwatch stuff. So
Templar too do.
Yeah, exactly. So if they make it a supplement just for the generic Space Marine book, I feel it's kind of falling short. But at the same time, it makes it that much harder to make it a supplement for 3 different books, and it's kind of weird, because then it's, like, not fair to other armies, in a way.
Yeah.
But... at the same time, the Deathwatch is that universal that it would be odd. I think if in place of doing that for another Space Marine supplement, they could do either Silver Skulls or Blood Ravens for the generic Space Marine Codex, or they could do
that would be so cool.
Or they can do with some successor from one of the others.
I would really like a Blood Ravens supplement, because they appear in almost everything but the game.
They do, and here's the thing: the Blood Ravens are Dawn of War. Like, when you think Dawn of War, you think Blood Raven. No matter what it is. The Blood Ravens are in the Codex in terms of sample models. They're showing you sample models painted as Blood Ravens, and from 4th edition onward of the Codex. And Forge World produced, I don't know if they still sell it, but they did produce for a bit, they might still sell the Blood Ravens logo sheet.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm going to find that out.
Because I believe they stopped selling the Carcharodons one. Oh, at least I took it down for a time. Might be back. But the point is, the only thing we had actual game-wise was a decal sheet from Forge World, which got a lot of people excited that Forge World's next Imperial armor is going to be Blood Ravens, and then it was not. But
they still have the Blood Ravens transfer sheet.
Right, so that's your only link to the actual manager game, is that transfer sheet right there, which is fantastic transfer sheet. I own it. It's great. But it's they're so big as a chapter for being nothing in the game. It would be cool to finally give them rules. Plus, it would. The nice thing about that is there are plenty of chapters which are heavy on librarians and psychic use. So you do it as a Blood Ravens, but then you open up the potential for anybody to buy that supplement and use it for accounts as Blood Ravens. So that would be great. Or failing that, I would like to see like maybe a Lamenter supplement or something for the Blood Angels, or like a Angels of Vengeance something, or like Disciples of Caliban. For the Dark Angels, just give them a successor thing if they want to do a Space Marine one. Now, the Harlequin supplement would be cool if they did special character stuff in the supplement books. They don't currently.
Yeah.
Because you would have to have a special stat line for the Solitaire.
Yes.
And you don't need a Solitaire on the board, sure, but if you're going to make a Harlequin supplement so you basically have a Harlequin army, then give us a special character Harlequin.
Yeah. The Harlequin Codex is the one thing that's actually, like, as an Eldar player, that's the one piece that I'm always like, oh, please, let's not go this route. Because I don't want to hear people complaining about how the Solitaire isn't this godly being that could one-shot Abaddon on a 2+ type of thing.
Right.
Because he's one of those characters, like, I've noticed in all the, out of everything in the game, that's the one character that everyone is insulted by if he's not just like the fluff.
Right.
Like, if he like, anything else, like, a Space Marine is nothing like the Space Marine fluff when you look at him 40k versus the fluff. But if the Solitaire has rules, he better be just like the fluff, or else it's an insult to the Eldar players. And I'm like,
Right, no,
so,
I agree. For some reason, the Solitaire has this, like, mythological following that he's got to be perfect. And when you look at the rest of every army ever in 40k, None
it's
of
like,
them,
oh, who cares?
None of them are that close to their fluff because they can't be. It's impossible.
Yeah, and so
40K
as much as I would like to see a Harlequins Codex, because I do like the Harlequins, I think they're really awesome, and they're one of our better close combat units. So it'd be cool to see, like, jet bikes and such like that, stuff that kind of takes the best part of our close combat unit and make it into an army, or let's say formation type thing. But at the same time, I'm like, do I really want to have to deal with people complaining that the Solitaire isn't perfect?
Right, and the only thing I think they could do with a Harlequin supplement book is kind of how they did the Farsight book. And that is, well, Farsight's a special character in the Tau Codex, but you don't need him to play it. They can do that with you don't need the Solitaire, and because we don't have rules for him, it's very convenient that you don't,
Yeah.
But give things so your Autarch has some type of Harlequin gear. Let him take Harlequin stuff.
Yeah, the only thing so far that we have right now is the Mark of the Laughing God, which gives you all the special rules of a Harlequin, but you lose your independent character traits, so you can't join a squad just like a Solitaire has to stand alone. So
Right.
it's the closest thing we have right now.
And that's fine. If they do stuff, they give you Warlord traits, and if they switch off the Force Organization chart, if they even care to anymore, they could do that and give you like gear and things, and then you can just paint up your jet bike dudes like Harlequins or whatever. But if the supplement books are great in one respect, how they are, but I think we could really get a true awesome supplement mini codex, which is what they're kind of meant to be, if they would do special characters, not just for the Harlequins, and not even for the Solitaire, just for a named Harlequin. But for everything, like the Iron Hands would have been awesome if they had a special character in their book, because they're the only first founding that has
don't have special
special character. It's really kind of unfortunate because they are one of the original legions, but they don't do anything. But so those would be cool. I'm all for everything that is in the rumor mill. I think the Deathwatch one is going to be iffy, just because while I'm all for it, it really doesn't benefit the Space Marine Codex. That would benefit the Dark Angels. They gave us that because then we basically have our
grab guns and such
and Stern Guard. Basically, we basically have a way to field Stern Guard if you wanted to. So that's the only way I actually see it being a benefit.
To be honest, if I were to really sit and think about the Deathwatch Codex, I would honestly prefer it to be its own like standalone game setting. Do you want to play 40K? Do you want to play Apocalypse? Do you want to play Deathwatch?
Right.
I think I would like it as that, where it's its own special set of rules and its own special unique army buildup, and then also give like some rules for building non-Deathwatchy characters. If you want to play a Xenos in a Deathwatch game, you can only take this, and that type of thing.
They used to have that. It was called Kill Team.
Yes. Well, again, that's what I think would be great, would be like a mixture like that to
if they brought back
spice it up more.
If they brought back Kill Team and made one of the special things that you could do in there as a Deathwatch Kill Team force, in which case you have your full-on, this guy's got this Chapter Tactics Space Ultramarine, this guy has Space Wolf special rules. If they did it like that, but as a Kill Team, that'd be great in a Kill Team setting, because then anybody can make a Kill Team force. And then it would be cool because it would be like playing like heroic characters, because if you have 5 dudes, you can even have like a specially modified Immortal and a specially modified Warrior and a Cryptek, stuff like that. You can do things like and beef them up. Even your basic Imperial Guardsman, he could maybe actually shoot something. Maybe he has an armor save that actually works, but something would be cool as Kill Team. I've always been a fan of the Kill Team idea, and it's always been kind of on the back, like, here's something for it, have fun, but not really. That's how they could do that for them. As far as the Deathwatch being a supplement, what I want them to actually do is actually create the Legion of the Damned book as a physical copy. Because really,
not a digital copy.
Well, because I don't have a means to read the digital copy right now.
I actually one person I know at the game store was not happy with that codex, so he's writing his own version because he doesn't like how it plays as an ally force only, and it can't be played as its full-on army by itself.
Yeah, because it's the Legion of the Damned. Does he not know the fluff of the Legion of the Damned? They come to the aid of other chapters.
There's supposedly one small tidbit of fluff about a mysterious force attacking orc encampments and by themselves in the Legion of the Damned Codex, and he goes, that implies the Legion of the Damned doesn't just appear when the Imperial needs them.
Orc things, because the Imperial needs them.
So he's trying to work it out, and I threw out a very good point to him. He's like, oh, there's nothing saying the dreadnoughts are not gone. I'm like, yeah, but who's maintaining them? The dreadnoughts don't live on their own. They stay in, stasis crypts until someone wakes them up. That's why Bjorn is still alive, you know. So half his entire legion is gone. There's no one there to take care of them. They die. Yeah,
and they're what was that name of that? They're the chapter from the Badav War. The Firehawks. Yeah, the Firehawks or whatever it is. That's them, and they were just they were really heavily depleted at the time that they basically disappeared. And the thing is, the Legion of the Damned, they appear mysteriously. They fight alongside, or they fight something in place of. But they're always doing something essentially to basically heed the call for help. They're not an independent chapter that just goes on crusade. In fact, they don't even... It's thought that maybe it's just a personification of the Emperor's wrath. That's the mythos behind the Legion of the Damned. And the thing is, when I heard about that book, I was excited. When I heard about what it's doing, I still was excited. What really always annoyed me is they never actually brought it to... It's because it's basically a supplement.
Yep.
And it's the only one that doesn't have a physical book. And they need a physical book for that. That's what they should focus on instead of Deathwatch, because they're really cool. And, writing your own codex is all well and good. The problem with doing that is you got to take off the rose-colored glasses. Yep. Because you got to be fair.
Yes, that's the big issue is you find when you're building your own codex, the fluff influences your choices.
And you also have to understand that nobody's going to want to play that except for purely casual funness. You can't just go, I got this in tournament time. It's not going to work.
Oh yeah, no, I've outright told this person I won't play it. Even in a casual game, I prefer to play with stuff that's official. The only stuff I tend to play casually with that's fan-made is terrain and missions and junk.
Oh, exactly. But in an army, either it's Forge World or it's GW. That's it.
Yeah, that's it, in my opinion. Which, curious enough, before we continue, what's your take on that, guys? Are you down with playing with fan-made army rules, or are you big on no, just if it's official or nothing?
Right. Now, on that note, back in the day, I actually built a home-brewed Mechanicum army. List. I made up not a codex, I just made a list of it. Because I was fed up that nobody had it. But the only thing I did is I basically took, all right, we're going to give them a Land Raider, we're going to give them this, and then I made up a few things. I made up a force for the Electro Priests.
Okay.
And what I did with the Electro Priests, I gave them a special rule, Ride the Lightning, but basically it beefed up their initiative and it gave them extra close combat potential. I basically gave them the old Black Sword. It could be a power weapon, or they could strike at initiative, as a power fist. If they could have their attacks and go power fist mode, or they could strike like a power weapon, because they're meant to be this electrically charged thing.
Yeah.
But I balanced it by saying due to their electrical nature, they cannot ride in transports because they would just fry the transport system, so they can never be in a transport. You have to balance it. And it was a pretty cool balanced thing. This was back in 4th ed, so I never even tried to update it for now, and there's no real need to, because now we have the actual Mechanicum stuff. But even though this Horus Heresy time, I was trying to make a more 40k time period stuff. It's just that I tried, it would have been, and it wasn't even through rose-colored glasses. I was just fed up that they never have rules. So I was trying to do something as an experiment. And that really helped me see how you have to balance, really helped me, because I was doing it as an experiment. How can I make a balanced, fair thing without making it seem broken? And it was tough. It was tough. And I basically had the thing nearly built. I didn't make any special characters. I only introduced a couple of brand new units, and I did them underneath making sure they were balanced. I made sure an Electro Priest was pretty cool as an elite choice, but I made sure he didn't, just wipe the floor with the Terminator.
Yeah.
I made it an even fight at that point, essentially, because it should be, because he's still a person and he's not in Terminator armor. But it was a very cool thing, and doing that, I decided that while this is fun to do and it could be useful to play in fun little, let's say, fan campaign stuff, especially if it's more like played against.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to play against a fan-made thing. And that's why, for me personally, I only want to play against either Forge World or GW stuff for a GW product. It would be like if I made up a mech that was like, oh yeah, this mech's ridiculously cool in BattleTech. I mean, you can kind of build your own mech in BattleTech, but this heavy... Like if I didn't make a system for that and just gave it 16,000 guns. It's like, well, it's totally fair. What are you talking about? But,
well, like, again, if GW brought back the chapter approval stuff where they gave you the whole, build a unit type of thing, then okay, then. That's something. But that's totally different than just someone going, I made up my totally army list. It's totally balanced. See, I actually played against one person. He had a guard army who... They was like, I take the tank and I turn its shot into a heavy 40 shot, but it can't fire next turn. It doesn't matter. You fired 40 shots this turn.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
it got to the point where I sat there and was like, we're not winning this game. And he's like, no, you're totally going to win. This is totally balanced. It's like, we're not winning this game. And in the end, we didn't win the game. And he's like, oh, you could have won. It's like, no, we couldn't.
You've had a 40
There was no way for us to win this.
Like, there's a reason why you only see shots greater than 20, and even 20 you only see in very few places, if at all, in Apocalypse only.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that, because it can't exist fairly in a smaller game. And with that, some people will play with only with like their buddies, but they'll use an older edition of the Codex to play in a current edition game, which I'm not a big fan of too much, just because while it's cool, I don't use the games as training for a tournament. Yeah. But at the same time, if I'm playing against, because one guy used to do it a lot with the Chaos Codex. He used to use the 4th, the 3rd Ed Chaos Codex. And that's all he would play with, even though people playing against him for fun with modern codex. But everybody was okay with it, which is fine. That's not a bad thing, but you get a totally different taste of tactics. Even though it's still a chaos thing, rules were different. So if you get used to fighting against certain rules, which work completely differently or completely changed and retcon and whatnot in a later codex, it messes you up a little bit. I also feel it's kind of like being a crybaby. Also,
it also the issue of if one of your rules totally contradicts a rule that's pre-done, like what if good example is they've got Furious Charge and that gives them +2 to their weapon skill, +2 to their initiative, and +1 to their strength, and you're like, well, actually the rulebook says now Furious Charge just does this. It's like, no, my codex says this, and then you have that argument over which rule do you follow type of thing, because yes, it says the codex trumps the rules, but again, it's using a special rule that's in the codex and in the rule book, and it just causes more problems.
With that, and this guy was very good about it. He played just for fun with his force, and with that, he built it like the codex lets him. So if the codex let him take 40,000 troops in one squad, he did it that way. But he always used the Universal Special Rules equivalent. So if they gave him Furious Charge, he used the current edition of Furious Charge. He just used the army stuff. So, he had the Axe of Corn and the stuff like that. The cool stuff that the Cult Legions got that they lost. He used all that stuff, basically. But if it had a rule that's universal, like Feel No Pain or Furious Charge, he used it in the current incarnation of it. Because he was playing it for fun, and then he was doing it for that. I mean, that I'm okay with, and it's cool doing that, but I just feel like you could just play with the current codex and just make... It's not like it's not chaosy. It is. I understand there's a big difference, and there really is. But that's, in my opinion, way better than trying to make up your own codex. Because like we said, rose-colored glasses. Making a Lehman Russ, even if it's the Punisher or whatever that fires 20 normally, giving it the ability to fire 40 and not be able to shoot next turn, you can't even balance that with not be able to shoot for 2 turns because you just shot 40 shots. The thing about shooting 20 is you're going to hit maybe half the time, and then you're going to wound maybe half the time after that. But when you do 40, you're basically wounding... You basically guaranteed to drop a squad. Yeah. And you could go into the statistics and math about it. It's just not a fair thing. And also it's not cool because you just modify something that... Games exist with rules for a reason, and it's fantastic that we have in 40K the flexibility that we do. Because when you look at it in comparison to other games, it has one of the most flexible games out there because they're like, hey, paint them up however you want. Right there, that's huge. Oh, you want to make up your own chapter? Yeah, go for it. Paint up. You want to call it the, I don't know, the Crimson Typhoon, or like, the Golden Feather, whatever it is. The Marble Host.
Pointy Stick.
Yeah, the Marble Hosts of Antioch, whatever. For like your Necrons or whatever it is. Paint them up as marble, paint them up whatever. Do it that way. Heck, even convert them. Kit bash. We're gonna sell you green stuff so you can sculpt your own details if you're good at it. They're not the only people who sell it, but the fact that they sold it, I don't know if they still do it, but they used to sell green stuff saying, hey, sculpt your own detail.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty crazy, you have to admit. That's a lot of freedom.
Yeah.
To build your army. I mean, that should be enough. Like, you can't just do that with War Machine. Things are intended to be a certain way. I'm not saying that there's no freedom there. I'm just saying I've never seen Kadar paint anything but red. You're not like, make up your own detachment or kit bash and convert it because the arms are, important. What's on what arm is important. And that's fine. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that that's kind of the pros and cons with freedom versus stuff having to be like it is. The only other way you have freedom on that scale is, Warhammer.
Mm-hmm.
And then BattleTech at least lets everybody use the same mech. You just paint up how you want. I mean that's not. It's freedom by being that much open. It's not really freedom, if you will, of choice. It's just this is the same tech, whatever. There's really no faction in that regard except for Clan versus Inner Sphere. But with 40K, you really got and fantasy, but more people do it in 40K. There's a reason why there's whole companies devoted to making third-party bit pieces for that. Because of the freedom allowed to it. So, because of that, I think people, get too lax in that and go, I'm going to make up a codex and play it. And it's like, whoa. It doesn't go that far. Relax.
Yeah. One thing, just switching gears a little bit here. We got some comments here on our podcast number 87, speaking of me trying to repost 87 here. First is one gentleman said, wishes to inform us that the Red Thirst does still exist. It's found on page 110 under the Ball Strike Force formation, where everything in the army has it automatically, so no need to roll. It's a +1 to the assault initiative.
Right. It does, but that's not like an army rule. That's a detachment.
Yeah.
Which is completely correct. But what he's talking about, first off, this is for a full-on battle company.
Yes.
So it's kind of like assault. It's kind of like apocalypse level thing at that point. Essentially.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it is, but they're right. But they also get Angel's Virtue and they get Objective Secured. And that's more of a kind of like how Ezekiel has that formation. That's like something brought about by a formation. Yeah. But what Red Thirst is, or what it was, I should say, and how it's represented now is just them having Furious Charge. Yep. And they're not fearless, because I believe they also got fearless when they got the Red Thirst. But they took that away and just gave Furious Charge across the board. So it still exists as a formation thing, and it still exists without being the name Red Thirst. But it's very true, and it's a good point to bring up that you do have formations gain things. So it's not just, they're not just saying, hey, collect this, so you spend lots of money. It's like, if you collect this, you get to get this. Yep. So that's good.
Another gentleman does confirm for us that Bjorn is an HQ for the Space Wolves.
Good, because I wasn't going to buy that codex.
But now we know that Bjorn is an HQ, which is good to know, because it would be good to know in case I need to kill a warlord.
Oh yeah, it's definitely good to know, because with just what you said, killing a warlord, knowing what your warlord is important. Because if you don't know, and like, oh, you mean that's the warlord? I have no way to kill that.
Yeah. And then someone else posted also, speaking of Cypher, have you guys heard of a similar character called Ephrael Stern from the Demian Forge comic?
I know.
She was a sister of battle who, through a series of extreme circumstances, acquired psychic powers that are arguably on par with the Emperor's and ended up being hunted by both Chaos and the Imperium. She's even inside the Black Library. Another really cool idea for a character that GW just doesn't seem to know what to do with. And so you started laughing. Explain why, Mr. Wildcard, did you start laughing?
Because Ephrael, first off, Ephrael Stern used to be a model sold almost diorama-like. She was sold with this crazy-looking Inquisitor that was in POW armor. It looked like a Space Marine, but it was an Inquisitor.
Let's see, I'm gonna search this person.
And Ephrael Stern. All right, I don't know when she came out, but I do know that the reason I started laughing is because she came out also kind of like, it's kind of like the 90s of comic books. You know how things were crazy?
Okay.
She's kind of like that level. Like, she was interesting, but she also basically is, I don't know how, not that she's not canon. Scylla's Hand is the Inquisitor who tried to, by the way, hunt her down. And so Scylla's Hand was the Inquisitor, and the crazy thing about Ephrael Stern is she kind of crazy a little bit. Like he said, she manifested psychic powers. They had to go up against like Keeper's Secrets, and there was a couple of possessed and like just turned and crazed Sisters of Battle who were all like chaosified a bit.
Let's see, it was published in 2005, according to this.
Yeah, that.
Well, that's the new edition, sorry. The new edition.
I forget when she came out, but it was definitely pre that. She did manifest powers, but she manifested the powers kind of through fighting the Force of the Chaos, so it is a, like, is she, or what, what happened here? Which is why the Inquisition doesn't like it. It's tough to say stuff about her in terms of her power level, because one thing that the comics do is they kind of blow things out of proportion a bit, or stuff like that. Like the one for the Black Templars made it kind of crazy what they were able to kill in close combat, that one guy. So it's a little inflated there. She's definitely psychic potential. She has resurrection potential as well. So yeah, she does basically. The thing about the Black Library, she was last seen traveling with an Eldar. I think the Eldar was known as the Pariah, and whatever that means. And basically, Black Library. But
she was a limited edition release.
Yeah.
Okay. But
this is also kind of, I'm not saying she's in the same seat, but it's the whole
that's her, right?
Let me see here. Yeah, essentially. I mean, she didn't like, her artwork doesn't really make her look any different than a Sister of Battle, so it's kind of hard to tell.
But everyone keeps saying like this is like limited edition model.
Right. No, yeah, but yeah, essentially. Yeah, that would be her essentially. But the thing is, the Sensei, how canon is that anymore?
What's the Sensei?
The thing with the Emperor, like, he had a bunch of these children. They're called like, and that whole you kill them or you don't kill them. It's confusing. It's part of the whole yin and yang thing that they kind of used that they were infatuated with for a limited time.
Okay.
But she would be interesting as a potential thing. It's just she's one thing. You know what I mean? She was part of the Order of the Martyred Lady, but she doesn't have any force with her. So it would be interesting. It would be they would have to do that the likes with it did Cypher. You know what I mean? Like
give her her own codex,
give her own
little
data slate thing like Cypher got. She would be interesting, but I don't think she would be that playable or that popular. A lot
apparently she had a Dreadnought version at one point. Ephrael Stern, Adeptus Sororitas Dreadnought.
Yeah, we don't talk about that because that wasn't really her. Like she like my point is she's still body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the whole I don't. This is why it gets confusing with Ephrael Stern. Also, a lot of Battle Sister players don't know about her.
Yeah.
People in 40K don't know about Ephrael Stern. And...
Except for you, because you're crazy.
Yeah, but, and this guy. This person. But...
Yes.
Would it be cool? Yes. The problem is... From what I know about her, now I haven't read that series. Well, from what I know about her, it's not like that she is got psychic potential to rival the Emperor or rival that. It's more like she has this psychic potential combined with like the faith stuff of the Sisters of Battle. Like she,
the faithy junk.
Yeah, she had like some psychic stuff unlocked and miracles, like the ability to and it's where does one stop and the other begin? It's hard to tell. She would be cool. It's just that she's a Sister of Battle, and 5 people play that army. So
I found 2 so far.
Right. It's weird. The Sisters of Battle, as a force, it swells. Like, every so often you get people who go, nuns with guns, it sounds, that's really cool, I want to do that. And they start, but then they just disappear.
Yep.
And, so, producing that, it would be a risk, because, A, we don't even have an actual book for them, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, we do, kind of, but...
We have a digital book, and that's about it.
Yeah. So the Sisters of Battle I think it would be it would be a cool character to include in a future release of a codex.
Which rumors are still popping up that's gonna happen.
It should.
It should. Whether or not it will is a totally different
But, I think it should happen for them, because they are unique enough. I mean, especially if... And I don't want to say the way Dawn of War did the Sisters of Battle was very cool.
I never got to play that part because I got so frustrated with the flyers that I was just like, that's it, and I just stopped playing the game.
Like, the way they represented faith and things like that, I'm not saying you can take that and put it into a miniature game, because that'd be... Yeah. Not impossible, but that'd be lame and impossible, essentially, for lack of a better word, because it's a strategy game where you build buildings and you don't do that. But the way they did faith and the miracles and the way they incorporated that into the way they played would definitely make somebody want to collect them. And if they kind of take what made them that interesting in Dawn of War and put it into a codex and just labeled it like that, it would be pretty cool. And then they could definitely introduce Ephrael Stern as maybe this thing, or maybe introduce her as a data slate afterwards. But here and now, I don't think it can work because of the lack of a Sisters of Battle support. Like, we're talking...
Yes. Well, they definitely need to shift them over to plastic, definitely. If they, doing that right there will just dramatically increase the support, the demand for them.
Yeah, it would be that would definitely help a lot. But so yes, the Star Turtles relevant media. I have heard of Ephrael Stern. I cannot state. I don't really know her power level base 100% because I haven't read that series, but I know about it. She definitely psychic potential. But the one thing I have that labels her is like this book that labels a whole bunch of characters and stuff that happens. It's like this, I forget what it's called, but I own it. And she was in there, which is how I learned more about her, just from pictures. Because I used to just know her from pictures and stuff and model stuff, and then the actual stuff. So I don't... Oh my god, over 9,000. But she's definitely potent, and with the whole faith in the Emperor, plus that, and being brought to the Black Library, raises the mythos. It's a case of... Is this A, still canon?
Yes.
GW, and B, is she still around in the Black Library? She is only human. Did she die? Did she contract some type of weird alien disease because she's now on the Black Library?
Yeah.
What happened to her? I find what happened more interesting than her getting rules.
Yes, it's very much like Sergeant Naaman. What happened to him? Because they kind of forget. They've kind of failed to mention him now in the codexes.
Well, he's dead.
Well, he's dead, but like I said, they when you brought up when they first came out, he's not even mentioned in the Calidus War anymore.
He's not. Well, he was in the Persian and Calidus Harbor.
Yeah, he was in the book.
Yeah, he died.
But like in the recent codex that came out, they don't even mention him anymore.
Oh no, they don't, which is unfortunate. And it's just the difference is that he was relevant in turn. What makes him more of a sad story in that regard is that he was at one type of special character for the miniature game.
Yeah,
he had a model at one point.
Yep. He had a rule about about playing dead.
Exactly.
That's what I loved about him. He had this thing called playing dead. You laid him down and you rolled a d6 and he got back up because he didn't actually get killed. He just faked it.
Yeah, he had this weird thing like that, and he was just a sergeant upgrade. It was cool, but then he was name only because he actually died. So they finally caught up with that, and then they just don't mention him. Whereas with Ephrael Stern, she was in a comic book, which may or may not be canon anymore.
Yep. She did get a model at one point with her and a librarian or something like that on a display stand. That's the Inquisitor.
See,
they're on a display stand.
That's Inquisitor Silla's hand. He looks really weird.
Yes.
But, so them...
If I remember, I'll post a link of a picture of this model.
Right. But it's... While she did that, I don't know that she had any rules in the wargaming.
I don't believe so. I think she was just one of those, like the Bone Singer. Just a model for a limited run, just for limited run's sake.
So in short... To long story longer with Ephrael Stern, it would be cool to have her, if she is canon and still relevant, come back in some way, shape, or form. I don't believe her power level is as crazy as was stated, but what made it crazy is that she was a Sister of Battle with psychic ability.
Yes, which is already pretty nasty.
Yeah, that's what made it crazy. I mean, Sisters of Battles are no space marines when it comes to fighting, but their faith in the Emperor borders on supernatural. So you have that plus... Psychic equals wow. Slow down.
Yep.
Slow your roll. That's basically what was being said there. But that would be cool. What I would like to see more so is the return of the Bone Singer models and actual Bone Singer rules.
I'm so angry that I could never get one of those because it was so awesome. And when I can find them, he's like $50-$60.
Yeah. I mean, I lucked out with mine.
Yeah.
But it's just, they're cool. Rules would be cool. Make them a psychic tech marine type thing for all I care. Just make them a rule.
Yeah, that would be so awesome. They'd have like a tank repair-y dude.
Yeah, because that's what they do. They basically built the tank. I mean,
they sang it into existence.
Exactly. And if I say it here now, I would be much more inclined to actually collect Crafrold Altansar if the Bone Singers had a rule. Really would. I have the model. It's a superfluous model outside of that.
Yep.
Could you make it as a Farseer? Sure. But...
Yeah, or a Spirit Seer, but then it's not being a Bone Singer.
Yeah, and it's just... And anybody who's played Dawn of War sees that and goes, Bone Singer. Because that's exactly what it looks like. And... You give it rules, but something cool like an HQ, not just like I'm a squad upgrade. No, you make it an HQ, Bone Singer, relevant. It is psychic, singer... repair.
That would be really cool. He generates warp points that can only be used to fix vehicles.
It would be cool. I would play him even better. Fix vehicles and now / warp constructs, so he could restore wounds to a Wraith Lord.
Yeah, so anything with the Wraith name or a vehicle he could repair with warp charge points, and he does it just like a psychic power.
Right, and let him repair vehicle hull points, let him regenerate Wraith Lord wounds, let him actually reanimate the Wraith Guard back up in a squad if the squad exists. That would be cool. If that happened, you have no idea how much I would really consider playing Eldar.
I would, buy as many Wraith Seers as I could, because that would just be awesome. GW, if you're listening, make it happen.
We know you are. Yeah, totally. Listen, so
you're one of the 11 or 12 people that are still listening to this podcast.
So do that. No, but it would be awesome. I would definitely want to play Eldar because I don't like calling Space Elves because they've taken on a life of their own.
Yeah,
but they're as close as you're going to get to elves in space. Because Eldar, and that's one of the old-timey names for elf. So, Yeah, people call them space elves. Yeah, it's a quick way to describe them, but I don't like doing it because I do feel they, like, when I think elf, I don't think Eldar. Eldar definitely, I feel, have taken on a niche for themselves. But I love elves. I've always been a fan of elves, so I've always liked the Eldar being like that. But I never really wanted to play them too much because I never could figure out a way to balance out aspect warriors versus other stuff. I always liked the Wraith Lord and Wraith Guard, but they never really had a viable list, in my opinion. Even now, it's kind of But you introduce a bone singer that does that, and I'll show you a Craftworld Alten's army.
And with that, we are out of time. So thank you all for joining us today. And hopefully this will be up in time. Happy New Year for everybody.
Hopefully. And I have a question for the Fearless Gamers, aside from the one we asked about how do you feel about homebrewed codices.
Okay.
Which, hopefully, you're not one of those people who go, I made 12. If you made 12, you need to see a therapist. But, because you should, or apply to Games Workshop, one of the two, or some company, some gaming company. But my question is, because, I like elves. Always did. If you're an elf fan, I don't mean like, oh, they're the best race to play in a game ever. I don't mean that. But if you enjoy the idea of elves, what is your favorite incarnation of elves? Do you like D&D elves, Lord of the Rings elves? I like Warhammer Fantasy elves. They're probably my second favorite. If we're going to do a power ranking of 1 and 2, it'd be Lord of the Rings and then Warhammer Fantasy elves. Or do you like the WoW's mile-long ear elves better? What is your favorite incarnation of elf if you enjoy elves? That's my question to the Fearless Gamers.
Alrighty. And so with that, and also if you haven't checked out, just only a few more days left until our painting contest is at an end.
Yeah, or day or hours, depending when this goes up. Yep. It's very limited time.
Yes. So thank you all for listening, and until next time, Fearless Gamers, this is Matt the Vet.
James the Wildcard.
Saying take care.
Peace.